conference. Well, it's great to be here. I have to say, I hate this photograph. So thank you very much for putting that up. What I really love about coming to YI conference, actually, as opposed to speaking anywhere else, is that seeing so many young faces in the audience makes me feel very young at heart. Which is just as well, because my heart might be ticking, but believe you me, the rest of me is getting very ancient and falling apart very quickly. My back goes out more than I do these days. Still, at least it could be worse. At least my teeth and I still sleep together. So, about 4 years ago, yeah, you might not know, it's about 4 years ago, I think the average age of an active UKIP supporter was 74. Now, the general election we've just had, I think the average age of a UKIP voter was 55. So we're getting there. And I don't think there's any doubt that the fantastic growth of young independents that we've seen over the past few years has a huge amount to do with this. And it is great to see you all so engaged, so enthused, and so interested in politics. Give yourself a clap. Still quite a lot to do. At the general election we've just had, about 41%, or only 41% of 18 to 22-year-olds actually bothered to vote. Some of them, astonishingly, in fact not just young people, some people out there still haven't heard of UKIP. Yes, it happens, I'm sure you've all been there, you knock on a door and UKIP? What's UKIP? And of course if they have heard of UKIP, there's a problem that they possibly heard the wrong things and have got the wrong idea about UKIP, and Ray Finch has just done a brilliant job in actually, I think, exposing the fact that what you people UKIP think they are is, of course, not what we're all at all. And not just UKIP, but there's this general sense, isn't there, that people don't like politics and they don't want to get involved in politics. If you were here this morning, you'll have heard Ernie give us that wonderful definition of politics. Greek, poly meaning many, ticks being blood-sucking parasites. A great description. And I think there is very much this sense that the only honest politician is one that when they've been bought, stays bought. That was a joke. And that, you know, 90% of politicians give the good 10% a bad name. But there you are, you have a role to play in changing this perception of politics and of politicians. You are our future. And it is with many of you in this room, who already, I know most of you are already very good activists, but to get more active, because you are our future, you can take UKIP to the next level, you can help to broaden our appeal, particularly among younger people, and to help us, make us more electable, and to also make politics more interesting. It was funny, when I first was elected as a councillor in the London Borough of Merton 5 years ago now, I was just really quite shocked actually about how many of my friends whom I'd never really spoken to about politics suddenly wanted to talk to me about politics. And very often I found myself out and about now, particularly with friends, and I want to talk about anything but politics. But other people, that seems to be all they want to talk about. So even though people say, oh, politics is boring, I'm really not interested. Don't you believe it? It simply isn't true. There is an appetite out there for political debate, and YI can definitely take a role in actually putting politics on the agenda. And I was particularly pleased to see the launch of UKIP students, because I think there is a massive amount to do among the student population in this country. When people think about politics, they think about Westminster, they might think about the European Parliament. But of course what politics is really about is all of our everyday lives and the massive influence that politics has, be it whether we're talking about animal welfare, whether we're talking about healthcare, be it we're talking about education. People might say I don't care about politics, but they're very happy to sign a petition about a cause that is very close to their heart. And this is where I think UKIP can get out there, particularly using young people, into that young people, student education environment. We have so much to campaign on for young people. Earlier, we heard how Jonathan Isby from the Taxpayers Alliance talked about how successive governments have really let down young people. Young people's prospects are diminishing at an ever rapid rate. I wouldn't quite use the word that Jonathan used, but he sort of summed it up like this, I think, that old people get stuff, because they turn out to vote, younger people get stuffed because they don't turn out to vote. And I think this is one of the main campaign thrusts that we can have, to make the point that the more active you get as a young person, the more likely you are to have an influence in the political realm. The fairness gap between the under 30s and the over 60s is getting wider and wider. So we have a situation whereby pensioners have a triple lock on their pension to make sure they don't get left behind. But what's happened in the budget that's just gone? Housing benefit cut for the under 21s for no apparent reason other than age. The maintenance grant for students at university completely removed. That absolutely drove me crazy. That was so unfair. The living wage, the new living wage, fantastic. Ian Duncan Smith jumping up and down, remember it? But why? Why does it not apply to under 25s? Do under 25s not work harder? Of course not. It used to be the case that you got a job, you escaped from poverty. These days, if you can get a job in the first place, it's not that easy, and under you're under 25, you're going to be discriminated against. This demonisation of young people has got to stop. So these are all good issues that we can campaign on as young people. Well, you're the young ones anyway. Of course, the other great thing that I think really can get young people engaged is this notion of political reform. 3.8 million votes for UKIP, 1 MP. Now, I don't know a single person, however they voted, didn't think that that was completely unfair. It was very unfair. And it was great to see that moment in time when people actually really did come together with a sense of having a new vision for politics. I was a great fan of first past the post in 1, 2, 3 party politics. But now we're talking about 4, 5, 6 party politics. And that old way simply doesn't work anymore. And we all need, I think, to join that campaign too, and Douglas Carswell is spearheading it for us in Parliament, about looking for a voting system that is fairer and means that people don't have to vote tactically anymore. I hate the thought of tactical voting. You know, I go into a polling booth and I want to vote for the person or the party that I believe in, not who I think I might have to vote for in order to try and stop somebody else winning. And this is, I think, something that is an increasing passion now, and again, something that we can all talk about. Referendum as well. Bill has just talked about that. I have to say, if it comes to the push, I would be on the other side to Bill. I absolutely don't agree with the death penalty. And I would want to be in a party that actually promoted it as a policy. So, but it is about having these debates. So, what can we do here and now? Oh, we've also got the referendum. How can I forget the referendum? That's the biggest major campaign issue we've got now. I think I've spent so much time talking about the referendum, and so have other people. So, the referendum on the European Union is something that I think particularly can engage young people. Because most young people have been lied to in schools, in colleges, in university, about what the European Union is all about. Now, I was luckier, being a little bit older. We didn't get such a strong push for how wonderful the European Union is. And we've seen through UKIP press releases and on the UKIP website this week that there are at least 1,500 academics in this country who are directly funded by the European Union. So of course they're going to sing and dance and make a big song and dance about it. And we have to put forward the other view. So how can we do this? Well, I want to quote one of my favourite literary heroes, Winnie the Pooh. The bear of very little brain, who actually talked a lot of sense. Who said, "You can't stay in your corner of the forest waiting for others to come to you. You have to go to them sometimes." Very sensible. So what I'd like to do is to make an offer. Whichever university you're at, whichever school you're at, whichever college you're at, I would very much love to come and join any debates that you might have for the forthcoming EU referendum. So please organise something. And if I can't make it, then I'm sure someone else will be able to make it too. But I really think there is an appetite there for this debate, so let's seize the agenda and do it. I already actually have one date to go and talk at a university. I've been invited to speak to the Cambridge Union in a debate on the EU referendum, which, if Winnie the Pooh was a bear of very little brain, for somebody like me who failed her 11 plus and went to a comprehensive school, so you could arguably call me a bird of little brain, that's quite scary really, but I will do it anyway. And when I was standing for Parliament in Shrewsbury in Action, I went to lots of hustings, and it was true that the hustings at which I got the best feedback as a candidate were the ones for the Older People's Forum, as opposed to the ones that we did in schools. There's no doubt too that after those hustings, a lot of people from schools came up to me and really wanted to talk and really wanted to gauge, and were prepared to say, I think UKIP's great, I'm behind you, I'm going to be voting for you, although they perhaps might not say it publicly. And I was chatting to a young friend of mine who's at Lancing College down on the south coast, and they'd had hustings at his school, and UKIP beat the Tories in every single one. No mock hustings. So I'm offering myself to come and join you at schools and universities across the country. We can do that under the auspices of students, young independent students, which will be fantastic. And yeah, so please use me and our MEPs, and Douglas I'm sure would be very happy to do it as well, because we're here and we all want to campaign, and we all, I know the way you all responded to Stephen's speech about getting involved, we all want to get involved. So I might be a little bit slower on my feet than some of you on grounds of my age. They say you're only as old as you think you are. Sadly, in my case, I don't think that's true. I think the worst moment I ever had, actually, when Ray's been talking about being interviewed, I was interviewed by a Danish newspaper about what it was like to be a UKIP councillor. And when the article came out and it was translated for me, it referred to Suzanne Evans, a well-kept woman in her 50s. Which was even worse, because I was only 48 at the time. Absolutely furious. Say la vie. Right, well, I've nearly come to the end, so I hope you found some interest in at least some of what I've had to say, and if you haven't, I hope you've had a good nap. If you've not been interested in what I had to say and you haven't had a good nap, then what's wrong with you? You're young, you were supposed to be out partying last night, you clearly weren't doing it hard.
It was.
Good. So I'll end with some more words from Winnie the Pooh. Remember, as I said, you are the future. So remember these words of Winnie the Pooh. You are braver than you believe. You are stronger than you seem. You are smarter than you think. And you, young independents, are going places. In this room, I know, are our future councillors, our future MEPs, our future MPs, and who knows, in this room, there might even be UKIP's first Prime Minister. Go UKIP, go YI.